Welcome back to Love Unfiltered. Now, before we jump in, I want to take a moment because this isn't just another episode. This is the season finale, and it feels important to name that. Over the past season, we've been having some really honest conversations about mental health and relationships. The kind of conversations that don't always happen out loud. We've talked about emotional labor, burnout, boundaries, anxiety, and the quiet ways our mental health shapes how we love and connect. And today, we're closing out the season with a topic that touches all of it. Social media. Social media is everywhere. Everywhere. It is on your phone. It's on your laptop. It is on your consoles, your gaming consoles. It's on your iPad. It is everywhere. It's how we stay connected, how we share our lives, how we seek validation, and, of course, sometimes how we measure ourselves and our relationships without even realizing it. And while it can bring us closer, it can also quietly impact our mental health in ways that spill into our relationships. Comparison, insecurity, blurred boundaries, miscommunication, and emotional distance. So today's episode is both a conversation and a reflection. We're unpacking how social media affects mental health and how that influence shows up in our relationships, whether we notice it right away or not. From comparison and insecurity to validation seeking and digital boundaries, social media has become deeply intertwined with how we experience love, trust, and self-worth. This episode isn't about blaming apps or telling you to log off forever. It's about awareness. It's about choice. And it's about protecting our peace while staying connected to our partners and ourselves. In this episode, we'll explore how social media affects mental health and relationships, comparison, insecurity, and online validation, and digital boundaries and privacy in partnerships, how social media can impact trust and communication, and then finally, building healthy online habits without disconnecting from each other. As you listen to today, especially as we close out this season, I invite you to gently reflect. How does social media make me feel about my relationship? And how does it make me feel about myself? This conversation isn't about demonizing social media. It's about using it intentionally so it doesn't start controlling how we love, communicate, or see ourselves. Now, I've invited students from diverse backgrounds to share their perspectives on social media, mental health, and modern relationships. Joining me today, I have Caleb, who is a senior majoring in environmental science. Thank you for joining me tonight, Caleb.
No problem.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Before we talk about relationships, we need to understand how social media impacts individual mental health. Now, common mental health effects of social media could be comparison and unrealistic expectations, anxiety and overthinking, fear of missing out, the acronym is FOMO, validation seeking and self-worth struggles, body image concerns, and doom scrolling and emotional burnout. Social media often shows highlight reels, not reality. We see curated happiness, filtered bodies, and carefully selected moments, which can distort how we view ourselves and our lives. Now, why does this matter in relationships? When mental health is affected, it influences how we show up as partners, emotionally, communicatively, and intimately. Insecurity doesn't stay isolated. It shows up in conversations, reactions, and expectations. Now, for my guest speaker, the first question is, how has social media personally affected your mental health?
I would say that social media has its pros and cons, depending on the way you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say more so it affected me more so in a positive way. For example, I know my goals that I want to meet far as how I want to physically look from working out in the gym to improve my body. There are certain content creators that I will watch that typically maybe bodybuilders or just typically just emphasize taking care of your body and just working on certain aspects of the body to show you, okay, whether you're doing them correctly in the gym, because a lot of individuals don't realize you can work out, but it's all about control and you're actually doing each exercise right so that it can have its full effect on your body. But it also can have a negative effect as well because, once you start comparing yourself to how others look, in a sense, it can affect your health because you're like, okay, maybe it's something wrong with my body. I want to look like that person. I want to look like, but that's just how I really feel about it. But it definitely has its, like I said, pros and cons to it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think that social media definitely can have its pros and cons when it comes to mental health. Um, for me personally, I believe one way that social media can affect my mental health is, I would say, like, seeing something that is very dark or negative and it like affects my spirit. Like, I'll look at it and I'll feel all that negative energy come off that video. And it could affect my entire day. It could even affect my psyche. Um, like watching scary movies at nighttime and then you end up dreaming about it, or you have bad nightmares, something like that. I would also say looking at likes and comments, like comparing your amount of likes and comments to other people's posts. You could look at it and you could look at yours and say, oh man, like this person, I only got like 14 likes, and then this other person got like 100K likes. Like, how is that possible? To me, that makes me feel like I'm not loved as much as the other person. But those are the type of examples. Like, you might feel self-conscious or your self-esteem might get lowered because of maybe more curated like likes and comments on someone else's post in comparison to yours. You might you might selectively connect the amount of likes and comments you get on your post to your popularity or how much you're liked by people. So if you don't have as much, then you're not liked as much. And then I think cyberbullying too. I've definitely been bullied on social media before in the past. And sometimes if you let it get to you, sometimes that can affect your mental health. I have seen it many times happen on Fizz. If you know what Fizz is, and everyone probably knows what Fizz is. But it's an anonymous app where you can choose to be anonymous if you want to. And people just be saying whatever they want. Like, someone could really just post a picture of you on there. And you won't even know who it was that posted the picture of you. Apps like that could really screw with someone's mental health because that's an easy way of cyberbullying somebody. So that's what I think. That's how I feel how social media could personally affect my mental health. Um, Second question, why do you think comparison is so powerful online?
I feel like comparison is. Let me think. I feel like it's so effective because I feel like it's not about what you say; it's how you say it. And a lot of individuals don't realize how powerful words can mean to a person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more so one of those people where I take words very serious, and depending on what you say and the tone of your voice as well, I may come off as feeling a certain way. I may feel hurt about it. I may even feel a little bit, you know, mad about it. Because at least the way I've been raised, don't compare yourself to others. You know, everyone's path is different in life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really the words you use, because I've been taught, don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. In other words, whatever you do in your life, you know, don't let others know, because then they start, you know, comparing themselves to what you're doing in your life. So this is, I feel like social media, a lot of people just don't know what to put on the internet and what to keep off the internet. That's the issue right there. Mm-hmm. Some people, they post literally everything that's going on in their life. Then when individuals start, you know, comparing themselves, it can have a negative effect on you as well, because you do have people out there that will prey on your downfall. They may see that you have X, Y, and Z going good for yourself in life. Then once they start doing that comparison with how their life is, it's just, you just need to learn on what to post on there and what not to post, which is why, like, even some of my family members will tell me that's why they don't like being on social media, because it's too, people don't know how to be private anymore. They're so, and it's nothing wrong with, you know, letting the audience know about certain aspects of your life, but there are some things that's meant to, you know, be private, be kept to yourself, you know, between you and maybe close relatives. But that's really what it is. It just seems like with social media, nobody knows what, you know, privacy is anymore. And yes, I'm on social media, but I'm aware of what to post and what not to post. Mm-hmm. You know, I go to the gym. I may post here and there I'm going to the gym, but nobody needs to know, okay, you know, the location of where I'm going, mm-hmm. which is a lot of people, they're so comfortable with providing their locations on social media. Then once people start doing that comparison, you know, you're not realizing the negative impact that it can have on you, or even, let's say, a career route that you want to go. Mm-hmm. You need to watch what you post on social media. And just, I feel like enough people, we don't talk about that enough, or people just not ready to have that conversation. I hear people all the time say, oh, I can just post what I want. Realistically, in a sense, you can't, depending on how you want your life to be in life. Mm-hmm. But, yeah.
I agree. I think, like what I brought up before, I think when it comes to comparison being so powerful online, I think what I brought up before, like people comparing themselves to other people, their follow count, their likes, their comments, how many likes and comments they have, and they kind of like let that affect them. And people can get really depressed. They let themselves get really depressed over follow count. I don't understand it because it's just numbers to me. Like I don't even see it as like, oh, you're popular or you're not popular anymore. It's literally just numbers. And I feel like those numbers should not be like the all be all when it comes to whether you're liked or not. I remember when I was I was a candidate for the Miss Iota Phi Theta pageant, and I was Miss Charcoal Brown. I remember when they put out this post where they put out like our release numbers and stuff, and each girl like got a number, And I remember people in the comments saying, release number 1, release number 3, release number 11, blah, 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 blah. You know how like probates go. And, you know, as I'm looking at the comments, I see a lot of, you know, my number 3. My number was 3 at the time. But I saw a lot of 11s. I saw a lot of 5s. I saw a couple 1s. And, you know, and I told myself over and over again, don't let, like, if one number is getting more comments, don't let it get to you. Because that doesn't mean, oh, no one is there to support you. It's just that they got a lot of friends that are blowing up the comment section, you know. But that doesn't mean, like, no one's there to support you. So I had to keep telling myself that. It worked. So I feel like people should really, like, try that method. Like, don't look at it as, oh, I'm not as popular. It's just numbers at the end of the day.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then for the last question, how do unrealistic online portrayals affect real life relationships?
I would say it has its effects depending on how you look at it. More so in the sense, which is why, like, even goes back to what I said about, you know, choosing what you post on social media. Mm-hmm. That can really just, it starts from there, because that's when it starts that whole comparison. Let's say, for example, you see, you know, a content creator, you know, like, for example, I'm 23. There's a content creator I watch by the name of Castanet. We're the same age, you know, you see the way he lives, the lifestyle he lives. But if I start comparing myself, saying, okay, you know, I mean, it's nothing wrong with having, you know, wishes that you know, you may want to live like that. But in the midst of a relationship, you know, if you keep comparing yourself, and it gets to a point where it's becoming unhealthy, me personally. If you're constantly saying, okay, I wish I was living in this big house, like, you know, like I just mentioned, Castanet, or I wish I had, you know, 6 or 7 vehicles, you don't realize the mental toll it can really take on your health. Because instead of just giving yourself grace in the moment, being thankful and being proud of where you at in life, you're constantly, you know, it gets to a point where I feel like you want to be a follower when you keep comparing yourself to how other people's living, you know, to how you're living. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to be a leader. You have to, not saying you can't have those 6 or 7 cars or that big house, but you may have to take a different route to do so. He does YouTube. He does Twitch. That was his path. It doesn't mean it's going to be my path. It doesn't mean it's going to be your path. You just have to figure out, okay, what are the necessary steps I have to take so that I could potentially live that lifestyle as well. But people don't realize that when they are constantly, you know, comparing themselves to other people, they feel as though they have to take that same path. Why is that the case? Why can't you take your own path to, you know, live in the big house one day? Mm-hmm. Everyone's not meant to have that same path. We're all made to be different. We're all not even meant to have the same items that, you know, other individuals have. So that's just my opinion on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you think that people look at other couples online, or have you seen that before, where people would look at other couples online and they would say, oh, look what they're doing, why can't we do that?
I definitely do. And yeah, I definitely do. And it doesn't feel good. I've actually endured a situation like that before, not recently, like in the past. Mm-hmm. Whereas, you know, for example, you can see a couple online, maybe, let's just say, for example, they're always planning a date night every weekend, where maybe the boyfriend's taking his girlfriend out to a, you know, pretty nice upscale restaurant. But, you know, if my partner is telling me, oh, why can't we do this? You know, why can't we plan date night every weekend? Why can't you, you know, you take me to places like this? That can cause problems between me and that person in the relationship, because it's like, okay, everyone's situation is different. What if you don't have the finances to maybe, take your girl out on to a nice upscale restaurant? It costs to go out. So just always doing that comparison it's just not good. That will cause me personally, to feel bad and make me feel like I'm not doing enough for my partner.
Right.
And, me being an overthinker that I am, now I'm going to start overthinking, okay, maybe I'm just not doing enough. It just will make me question, okay, would you be more appreciative if you was living that life? Or do you even really want to be with me, to be honest? Because me personally, I don't like always comparing myself to other couples. It's fine to, indulge in certain activities that you may see other couples do online. But it gets to a point where it's like, okay, you just want to be a follower. Like I said,
right.
Everyone's relationship is meant to be different. Mm-hmm. We're not all meant to indulge in the same activities. And like I said, a couple of activities is cool, but everyone's lifestyle is different. So I just feel like, if the world would just stop comparing themselves, we would be much better off. And if I feel as though, okay, you're constantly comparing yourself to, what you see other couples doing, it may cause me to step back, because now you have caused a predicament for me to feel like, okay, I'm not doing enough. Because, I guess it depends on how we all look at it. Mm-hmm. But me personally, it would definitely cause me to step back a little bit. I will communicate first about, what's the issue or what's going on, or am I not doing enough for my partner? You want to do that first, communicate, have a conversation with your partner and ask them, okay, am I meeting your needs? Am I meeting your wants? Do you feel like we're, indulging in enough activity as a couple, to grow closer to one another? Have that conversation first, mm-hmm. and then just go from there.
Right. Do you think that comparing your relationship to unrealistic online portrayals could have a negative effect on the relationship? And if so, how so?
Can you repeat that, please?
Yes. So if someone were to compare their relationship to an unrealistic online portrayal, how could that negatively impact their relationship?
I would say, I'll have to think about that one. I would just say you need to know. I would say just a conversation need to be had. You would need to know, sit down and know, okay, what's realistic and what's not. Mm-hmm. And like I said earlier on, it's, in a sense, it would sound to me like you're just trying to, especially if you know the circumstances or the lifestyle that you guys are currently living in that moment, and you're still, okay, now you're conversating about these unrealistic, goals. Well, I want to say unrealistic, because I feel as though anything you see online, you're capable of doing that in your relationship as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to say it will be unrealistic, but it just really depends on that lifestyle. Like if your lifestyle is showing, okay, you can't maybe indulge in certain things, conversating on it is just, it's going to cause issues, because to me it feels like, okay, are you even happy in your relationship in the first place? Because me personally, if you wouldn't keep doing that whole comparison with, okay, I see this individual living in a nice big house. Maybe you may not be able to do that right now. It's nothing wrong with talking about wanting those goals for yourself, because I don't feel like at this point in life, anything is really unrealistic for you to do. You can do anything. You're capable of doing anything you want in your life, live any type of lifestyle you want. But like I said, that knowing that each person's path is different will definitely do you justice in that relationship.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Social media has a way of amplifying insecurities, especially when communication and boundaries aren't clear. Now, how social media can impact relationships, comparing your relationship to others, over analyzing likes, follows, and comments, jealousy and fear of replacement, misinterpreting online interactions, and then feeling pressure to perform happiness online. What are the signs that social media is affecting trust between the partners? Constantly checking your partner's activity, feeling anxious about who they interact with, reading into online behavior instead of asking questions, and then finally, arguments rooted in assumptions, not conversations. Trust weakens when social media replaces honest communication. Now, question for you, Kayla. Why do social media platforms intensify insecurity?
Too much comparison and just not, to me, just, I guess, not showing appreciation for where, showing appreciation with how your life is. You're just so focused on what another individual is doing. It kind of takes away the focus on the goals that you want to accomplish in life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that it can intensify insecurity in many ways. For example, you might see that your partner is following a friend of theirs who may be the opposite sex, and maybe you feel like that person looks really good. You may even try to compare yourself to them and say they look even better than you, and that might make you feel insecure. Or you can notice that your partner is following a lot of people who are the opposite sex, and you might find that suspicious, and that might also make you feel insecure in the relationship. May make you feel like they may possibly be cheating on you. I think those are the only two ways I can think of that social media could intensify insecurity. Or a third one, if your partner's like texting people who are the opposite sex, but they're like not texting them like in like a they're trying to get with them type of sense, but just texting like literally like as like platonically. You might look too deep into it and assume like, well, get paranoid. Like, what if he or she's flirting with them? What if they're cheating on me? Like, there's so many other like different types of assumptions you could make up in your mind because of social media or what happens on social media.
Yeah, especially if you feel as though that, let's say your partner is communicating with someone on social media that is the opposite sex. If you feel as though, okay, it seems like their attention is more towards whatever they're doing on social media, that can definitely like cause you to overthink. Especially if you feel as though, okay, now it's like, okay, your partner, it seems as though they're giving you less attention and giving all their divided attention to whatever they're, doing on social media or whoever they're texting. Now it will cause me to overthink, like, okay, what's going on? What is it that you're doing on there that's causing you to, not have as much attention? Like, what's causing you to just not pay that much attention to your partner? And what can that cause? That can really cause that can cause that person to step back or react in other sort of ways, because something is getting your attention from that individual if you're just getting to a point of not showing your partner enough attention.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It depends on how you look at it, but that's just personally how I look at it.
Mm-hmm. For the second question, how can online behavior create misunderstandings offline?
It can create an unrealistic. It can create unrealistic factors for you and your partner, because everything you see online is not really what it is. And I've literally had this conversation with people before.
Mm-hmm.
We're also focused on, everything we see on these online platforms. You don't know what goes on after that camera goes off. I personally believe not all creators, but some of them, you need to realize they're going to show you what they want you to see. Some people may be, straight up raw and show you, everything that's going on in their life, whether it's good or bad. Some people, they only show you the good side of things, the good side of their life, and not saying that's not good and all, but when that camera go off, you don't know, what it is behind closed doors. Only they know that. Mm-hmm. Like, I've watched certain YouTubers where they're straight up raw. They show, the good side of things, the bad side of things. But I feel like in a sense cause a disconnect, because like if you and your partner's watching a couple on YouTube and you see how, they're living their life, they're so happy all the time with, activities they're doing together or whatever it is, you turn that video off and then y'all just you and your partner's having a conversation, about the video, and just depending on what's being said can definitely cause a disconnect with you and your partner, because it's like, this is not our life, and I'm one of those people that don't like to keep talking about what the other person is doing. I like to, just stay in my lane and, figure out, okay, what's going to get me to where I want to get to in life. Not, okay, this YouTuber or that YouTuber, did X, Y, and Z to get to where they got to. That's okay. That's their path. I don't personally want to, I'm going to be honest, have that conversation with my partner about what another couple is doing. That's their business. And then it will cause me to feel some way like, okay, why does it interest you so much to have a similar lifestyle like others? Why not just focus on your goals, where you want to be in life, how you want your life to be? Stop, this, comparison is just, it's got to stop. I don't even know what else to say about it. It's kind of just got to that point in life where we just need to have this conversation more, and then, couples would definitely be better off.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think a lot of couples could be better off without all the comparisons, because I think comparing can cause a lot of anxiety and paranoia, and it can cause people to assume things and change the narrative up in their mind when that may not even be happening.
Right.
Self-sabotaging is the word. They might end up self-sabotaging their own relationship because of social media.
Right.
And then for the last question, where should couples draw the line digitally? That's a good question.
I would say it all starts with like setting boundaries. Like, if you feel as though, okay, let's say you feel as though your partner is giving a lot of attention to, let's just take Instagram, for example. I would say definitely start planning maybe, date nights or just some point throughout the day where you're not, on your phone. Because I feel as though we definitely are in a world where everyone is so focused on their phone. They're always worrying about, what's going on Instagram or what's going on TikTok. And that's fine and all, but when it feels as though it's becoming a problem in your relationship, now we need to develop some type of boundary or plan to just maybe at some points not be on our phones at all. And I'm one of them people where I would take my girl and say, okay, well, we can go out, let's just talk, sit the phones down, because everywhere you go, everyone has the phone in their face. And that can just that can also create a disconnect between you and your partner, because it's like your partner can be, talking to you about something. And if you feel as though you have to keep asking that individual, did you hear me? Did you hear what I said? I'm going to be honest with you. If you put your phone down for 2 minutes, and just get off Instagram for 1 minute, you will be able to hear and listen to, what I'm saying. But yeah, it just all starts with those boundaries, and and just giving it time to see if you see some sudden change. But it's all about communication. Like I said, boundaries, and just letting that person know, okay, now enough is enough. Especially if you're communicating what the issue is, you're setting boundaries, but it's still, you feel it's okay, those boundaries aren't being respected. It's the same thing constantly happening. Mm-hmm. And you don't want it to get to that point, but at least I'll say if you really love or care about a person, you will, try. And you can't just be the only one to put in effort. It mm-hmm. takes two people to make a relationship work. It takes two people to make sure that those boundaries are being respected at all times. Not saying you're never going to slip up. We all have slip-ups in life. It happens. But being aware of, okay, if you messed up, admit to that. Mm-hmm. But if it just seemed like it's just you putting in effort, I don't personally understand how that relationship is going to work. But at least I'll say try. Like I say, if you really love and care about that person, you try, put in effort, and just see how things go from there.
Mm-hmm. For me personally, I think where couples should draw the line digitally, I would say, I've heard people say this before, and I think this is like, I don't know. I heard this. I don't think these really cross a line. I think these are generally healthy, but I've heard people make this a rule. I think it's weird, but liking posts or stories of the opposite sex, and like those stories and posts are like non-sexual, non-flirtatious. I don't agree with that. I think that does not cross the line. And honestly, a lot of things do kind of like depend on the couple. Like some couples are fine with liking or responding to thirst trap videos. Right. Other couples are like, absolutely not. You're not doing that, because like those videos are supposed to be like flirtatious or thirst like driven and things like that. So why would you react to that if you're like with somebody? But definite like red zones. Definite red zones. Oh wait, actually no. For the yellow zone, I don't really know about late night messaging the opposite sex. I'm not really sure. I mean, I don't think it's really all that big of a deal. I mean, as long as like it's nothing like, obviously like cheating, then it's like I wouldn't really have a problem with it. But definite red zones, I would say, is sexting or any type of sexual content with another person. Emotional intimacy that replaces your partner. Flirting with anybody romantically, or you have sexual intent. I think keeping someone as a backup, that's kind of crazy. That's basically cheating. I would say using private accounts or burner apps to hide interactions with other people that are deemed inappropriate. And I also would think like definitely a red zone would be gaslighting your partner about overreacting to your bad behavior. I think that those are all like red zones. I would say will cross the line, or not cross. Yeah, would cross the line digitally, and if you cross that line, there's gonna be a problem. So that's what I would say.
I definitely agree with you. It's funny that you mentioned the whole texting the opposite sex late at night.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually one thing I've mentioned before in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree with everything you said. That should be a red zone. But me personally, far as it just really depends on the time, really, during the day. Like, I feel like, I mean, okay, let's say let me just throw a time out there, maybe like 12 o'clock at night or 1 o'clock in the morning. Let's say you're a person that may, stay with, you stay with your partner together. Mm-hmm. I mean, me personally, I feel like you don't really have anything to talk to the opposite sex about around that time of the night. Mm-hmm. Not always saying that you should assume, okay, it may be something going on between, your partner and the opposite sex, but still it just feels though like, okay, what do you really have to talk to? Like, what do you have to talk to another boy about at 1 o'clock in the morning? I mean, to me, it would be red zone, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I mean, even may cause some individuals to want to look in that person's phone to see what's going on. It could definitely like affect your trust. Not saying, I mean, it wouldn't affect my trust in the person. I would just probably just have that conversation with my girl and be like, okay, what's going on, and especially if it's becoming a cycle of like, let's say you're texting the opposite sex like late at night. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if it's not, as long as it's not inappropriate, I guess it's really nothing to worry about. But it's still, in the back of my head, I just would be wondering, like, I mean, me personally, if it's 1 o'clock in the morning, I don't have no reason to text no other girl. What do we need to talk about at that time? I can, like, talk to you later. I mean, it's not wrong with texting the opposite sex at a certain time, but I feel as though it gets to a time where it should be a cutoff, I would say. Mm-hmm. That's just me, and it goes with me as well. Like, I shouldn't be up half the night texting another girl. Me personally, if I'm in the house, I'm with my girl, I'm just, that's what I'm focused on. I'm not even really, it just depends on how you look at it, but to me, it's definitely a red zone. It just depends on the time. Like, if it's like anything out of 12, I'm just going to be looking at you a certain way, to be honest. But mm-hmm. Unless, like, let's say, and, couples do it where they, both of you have access to each other's phones. So if that's the case, I mean, I would think, okay, maybe I don't have nothing to worry about. But like you just said, I mean, people may have like other sorts of ways, like other accounts to like hide conversations that they're actually having with, other people. So, I mean, but still, I feel like having access to that phone can, like, maybe not cause you to really overthink much about it. Mm-hmm. But you just never know. Like you said, what if a person has another device where they're, maybe having those conversations? It depends on how you look at it. And I say it all depends on experience as well, how much experience you have with individuals in a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree with everything you said. I can definitely see the talking to someone late at night and the opposite sex to be kind of like iffy. It's kind of finicky for me. Probably because I've never really considered it a rule you or something you wouldn't, like a line you wouldn't cross. I don't know. That's never really been a concern for me. I don't know. I kind of see it as, well, what if you and your friend were talking at 8 p.m., 9 p.m. and the conversation went on for a long time? Or what if y'all were playing video games and it went on to 12 o'clock or something? I don't know. There's just certain situations, so that's why sometimes I try to see it as as long as you guys are having appropriate conversations, then it's all good, I guess.
I agree. I didn't look at it like that, but I definitely agree with that. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So, just like emotional boundaries, digital boundaries are essential. Now, healthy digital boundaries can include respecting privacy, like messages, DMs, passwords, discussing what feels comfortable to share publicly, setting limits on phone use during quality time, clarifying expectations around likes, comments, and follows, and then taking intentional breaks from social media when needed. Healthy conversations sound like, what feels respectful online to you? How can we protect our connection offline? What boundaries do we need digitally? Boundaries aren't about control. They are about care. Now, Caleb, why are digital boundaries often overlooked?
I feel as though some individuals don't want to. I feel as though some individuals just don't want to hear the truth about things.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it's really more so about. I mean, it really depends on how you communicate about whatever is going on.
Mm-hmm.
But some people just they just don't really want to hear the truth about it. To be honest, quite frankly, in my personal opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. I think sometimes some people take some things personally, or they're like, oh my God, what? You want that to be a boundary? That's crazy. Or that's doing too much. And they try to gaslight their partner into thinking that, that's not going to be a rule they're going to establish because it's going too far and doing too much. So that's why sometimes I feel like digital boundaries can be overlooked. Sometimes some people think some boundaries are unnecessary to place. So, or they just won't, or they just straight up just won't respect it at all.
Right, and then that's when it becomes a problem because, even if you feel like, if I set a boundary and my partner may have an issue with it, you want to be willing to sit down and have that conversation and come to some sort of agreement about it. I feel as though if I don't feel that my boundaries are being respected, now you have to question, okay, well, maybe we need to, reevaluate this relationship because I don't understand how it will work if, you may be having an issue with, certain boundaries, and that may cause some people just to, that'll be, their exit out of the relationship because it's not going to work. Like, if I tell you I have an issue with, let's just say, for example, I have an issue with my partner having male friends. If that's an issue, and let's say we are having numerous conversations on it and we not come to some sort of agreement about it, then unfortunately it may have to just be time for you to exit that relationship, to be honest. Or I feel though some people feel like, okay, well, I'm young, which I hear a lot of people say, you're young, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. So they feel like, okay, with me being so young, why should I have to make certain sacrifices with what I do in my life, it's because any relationship that you're in, relationships require sacrifice. You may feel a certain way about something, but at least try to put yourself in that individual's shoes and try to understand where they're coming from. Not saying that you just have to agree with, whatever your partner has an issue with. I mean, if you got a problem with it, yes, speak up and let me know, why you have an issue about it. But some people, and I've heard it before, I'm young, I shouldn't have to, give up certain things. I don't know why society thinks like that when it comes to young people like ourselves. They feel as though, okay, you young, why do you gotta make this sacrifice? Why you gotta make that sacrifice? You should be able to, some people believe, okay, yes, I'm in a relationship, but at 20 something, some people feel as though, okay, I can talk to whoever I want. Just because I'm young, that means you could be in a relationship and talk to whoever you want. No, the thing is, you signed up for that relationship. And when you sign up for a relationship, you sign up for that commitment, and you have to realize and tell yourself, sometimes you're going to have to make certain sacrifices. And it just really depends on the individual. Some people I would say they're not ready. Maybe they're just not ready for a relationship. Because the more older you get, you can be any age and be in a relationship. It's going to require some type of sacrifices. You just need to be willing to be ready for that. Mm-hmm. And I don't personally feel as though, okay, yes, I'm only 23 years old, but I'm old enough to know, okay, sometimes you got to make a sacrifice or two. You got to just ask yourself, are you ready to make that sacrifice? And if you're not, then maybe you just don't need to be in a relationship. Which is why it's just so important to, especially if you're like an individual, let that person know boundaries up front so that you would even know, okay, should I even continue towards the next step with this person? That's why they tell you, I've been taught, let a woman know your expectations and, let them know that up front. Let them know what's going to be tolerated and what's not going to be tolerated. Vice versa, I expect, a partner, a woman to tell me, okay, what you won't tolerate or what boundaries you want what boundaries you want set in place, especially if it gets to that point, okay, you feeling like you want to, be in a relationship with this person. Mm-hmm. But if you let that stuff know up front, and then now all of a sudden, things could change even in the midst of a relationship. But if it gets discussed before that relationship, I feel as though people and couples will be better off. But it's a mature thing. You just have to be mature and just ready. And some people, unfortunately, they're just not ready. Not because they're young, because a lot of people have this thing with thinking, okay, we're young, that means we're not ready for a relationship or that commitment and everything it comes with, everything that, can potentially happen in a relationship, good or bad. I just think it just depends on, where that individual is in life. Because you could be 23, you could be more prepared for a relationship than someone that's, I hate to say, like 34, 35 years old. To me, to be that age and not be prepared is a little crazy to me. Not trying to sound judgmental, but it's just, like I said, it just depends on the person. Some people ready, and some people, unfortunately, they're just not. They think they're ready for that commitment, but then when things start being discussed in the midst of a relationship, now they're like, okay, well, I don't want to, I want to be able to talk to whoever I want, or I want to be able to like any pictures I want on Instagram. Mm-hmm. But, it just, more people just need to realize it's, sometimes you just gotta, if you love and care about somebody, you willing to make those sacrifices. And if you can't, then maybe you just have to reevaluate yourself and remove yourself until, you're, mature enough to be ready to move on with, I'm going to say, like, just being a mature adult. Mm-hmm.
Let's see. How can couples talk about social media without accusations?
Just being upfront with your partner. Just, sitting down and having a conversation. Just watch the tone of your voice and just express yourself to your partner about how you feel about social media, even if you feel like something may be going on. It's just really the way you choose to go about it and how you choose to communicate to your partner without just assuming. I mean, the truth hurts. I would just be, like I said, it's just better to be straightforward with your partner, even if they may come off feeling like you're accusing them of something. I mean, I feel as though it's better to just tell the truth than just, candy coat it or be around the bush. But I would say, just watch how you, confront them about whatever you're, thinking about that could be going on with your partner in social media. Even though they may feel a certain way, but I will respect you for telling me the truth. Yes, I will feel a certain way if, my girl was making some sort of accusations, but I would have respected her for just, being straightforward with me, because I'm a straightforward person. I want you to be straightforward with me. Watch how be respectful, of course, but I'd rather just hear what it is than just, candy coating it, because we're too old for that. We're adults. It's time to grow up, put the childish games away, and just tell me what it is. Just be respectful, and then we can just really go from there. But yeah, it's really just all about the communication between you and your partner, and just watching the tone of your voice, because tone matters as well. And tone can, depending on how your tone is, that can potentially cause an individual to step back, or they may react in a negative way, because they're like, okay, you may sound like you have an attitude, or you sound angry, and you may not sound like that. That may just be simply how you sound. But yeah, it's just that you just got to make sure you have, good communication with you and that partner of yours.
And then for the final question, what's one digital boundary that should be normalized?
I want to say, wow, that's a good question. I would say watch what you choose to comment. Like, choose what you comment on people's posts on social media, I would say. Especially, like, let's say you're, because in reality, your partner can follow people that's of the opposite sex. You just really need to watch what you. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with me personally. I don't feel that is an issue with you making, putting a comment under someone's post that's the opposite sex. But if it crosses a line if you're sending out an inappropriate text. Like, for example, if I see a female that I follow on Instagram and I'm putting heart emojis on her post, that's you're definitely crossing the line. Like, you need to watch what you comment on people's posts, because I'm fine with you following people that's the opposite sex, but watch what you comment on their posts. I feel as though a lot of people they don't feel like, I don't feel like it gets talked about enough, really. So that's what I would say. Just the comments you make on people's posts. Yeah, I think that's all I would say. That's all I can think of right now.
Okay. For me, I would say not giving your partner full access to your phone or social media accounts. The reason why I say this is because privacy should not equal secrecy. And I know from like past relationships, we would like give you like we knew each other's phone passwords and if you ask, you can just go on a person's phone and just have full access to it. Even when that person's like not around, you can just go on their phone and just look through every single app, see what they're doing, who they're talking to, what they're saying, what apps they got, all these different types of things. I don't think it should. I don't think trust shouldn't require passwords, or constant check-ins or like phone inspections. I don't think healthy trust equals surveillance. I think that I really do think that everyone is entitled to their own like private thoughts and conversations. And pressuring your partner to share like their password with you is a definite red flag in my opinion. I think that like saying you need to tell me your phone password. Like you need to. You can ask and they can if they want to, but you can't force somebody to like give you their phone password. And if you try to force your partner to give you like their phone password, that is a red flag on your part. So I think that practicing like privacy doesn't equal secrecy. I think that will definitely prevent like control, definitely anxiety, because I feel like if you have like full access to your partner's phone, you're just gonna keep thinking about like, oh my god, I need to check their phone, because I think that they're like talking to this shorty, or I think my boyfriend's talking to this girl, all these different types of things. Like, it can really help eliminate that power imbalance between the two people in the relationship.
Right, I definitely agree.
Yeah, so that's what I would say. And let me see. We have a couple people in the live who answered the question I pinned in the chat. The question was, what is one social media habit that has strengthened or weakened a relationship? Somebody says social media can and has weakened the amount of privacy that a relationship should have. Someone said social media can and has weakened the attention span in a relationship very commonly. And then someone just recently said sharing reels with them daily. Not sure if that's a strength or weakness, but I can agree with that. I love doom scrolling, and I will end up like just spamming the hell out of someone's chat, and you'll just wake up to like 20 plus reels just sitting and waiting in a chat, waiting for you to look at them, because that's all I do. I'm just like send. I just send stuff to so many people. It is a terrible habit, but that's how I kind of show my love for people too. I just be like, I feel like they're gonna find this funny, or I think they're gonna relate to this or find it relevant, so that I pick and choose which reels to send to who. So
it's fun though. It definitely is, because it's been numerous times I woke up and it's like 20-30 reels sent from someone, but it's definitely funny to me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I don't get through each individual reel, that's a lot of reels to get through. But I mean, me personally, I like it.
Yeah.
Even if it takes me some time to look at each video, but it's nice. It's nice though.
Yeah, I like it. It's a good way of passing the time, especially if like you just woke up and you have nothing to do. Just watch all the reels that the person just sent you late at night, the night before. And someone just said, frequent DMs between the opposing sex. So I wonder if that strengthened or weakened it. I feel like that probably weakened their relationship. I wouldn't think that frequent DMs between two opposite sex would be like an issue. Like, like I said before, as long as it remains appropriate, then that's all that matters. All right. So, social media doesn't have to harm relationships. It can be navigated with intention. Here are some examples of intentional ways to use social media. Be honest about how it makes you feel. Avoid comparing your relationship to others, which me and Caleb have both mentioned before. Use social media for inspiration, not validation. So, for example, let's say you're watching a video and this video talks about a relationship and maybe something is like a little bit close to what you're going through. Don't use that as to validate how you feel. Just use it for inspiration, but not like to completely confirm, oh yeah, so that's exactly what's happening in my relationship, because it may not be. Prioritize real life connection over online presence, of course. And then finally, support each other without pressure to perform. Now, how can you guys protect your mental health together? Check in emotionally after online triggers. Normalize stepping away when overwhelmed. And then choose connection over consumption. Social media should complement your relationship, not compete with it. Now, Caleb, how can couples support each other's mental health online?
I would say just communicate with your partner. Like I said, communication is everything. And I say, whatever you see on social media, I would say just make sure that you're showing appreciation with, what's going on in the midst of your relationship, rather than just keep comparing, okay. How another person, you're happy with, how your relationship is, the activities you do with your partner and how you guys, communicate and show love for one another.
Okay. I would say the first one would be like, don't monitor your partner. Just like simply check in. You can say something like, hey, I've noticed you seemed quieter online recently. How are you feeling? The second one I would say is be mindful of tone and text. And this is one I always bring up when it comes to having like conversations with people online, because even with those serious conversations or sensitive conversations, tone and text can be misinterpreted and it can be looked at in a different way. So like texts lack tone. So I feel like, definitely use like emojis or clarifying words when emotions are involved. I definitely think emojis can help. Kind of like show like how you're feeling or what you mean by what you've said, with a picture to help visualize like what you look like behind the screen. I would definitely avoid heavy conversations over text, and I definitely do believe this. I think that if you're going to have like a sensitive conversation, please do have it face to face, whether in person face to face or FaceTime video call face to face. Honestly, for me, I wouldn't even do video call. I would do in person face to face because, I mean, like I said, whatever you say can be misinterpreted, or someone could assume, and you can really tell how a person's feeling just by looking at their eyes. But if you're having a serious conversation over text, you're not going to see their eyes. You're not going to see their facial expressions. You're not going to know how they're feeling, whether they're taking it seriously or not, all these different types of things.
I agree with that. I'm sorry, you still talking?
Oh, no, you can go ahead.
I'm sorry. I agree. I will also say, I mean, if you have control over if you can have that conversation in person, I will support that. I mean, I can have conversations over FaceTime calls as well, but I mean, I can kind of understand why you rather do in person, because this goes back to earlier, like I was saying, some people can typically get distracted by their devices, which is why sometimes it just is better. It's just best to have conversations face to face, because if I'm talking to you, physically, like in person, I don't have to worry about, you having your phone in your face or you doing, whatever you're doing. But if we're doing it over the phone, like you can tell, you just say, a person's eyes, you can tell if a person is, fully engaged with the conversation, or you can definitely tell if that individual is distracted and just not really paying attention to what you're saying on the phone. Like, I'm one of the people too. I can text about certain situations, but it gets to a point where like we don't need to be texting. Like, I need to actually, at least call you, or you see me on FaceTime, or like you just said, you talk in person. But can still do both. It's just like I said, if I'm feeling like, I'm talking to you, if it is on the phone, and like you said, your eyes can definitely say a lot on the phone. Some people don't realize that, but you trust me, you can tell if a person is distracted. And at that point, yeah, we just need to have the conversation face to face. Because then now I know, okay, if you're really paying attention and if you're really engaged in the conversation.
I agree. Let's see. I think defending without dismissing is a good one. I think that if your partner is hurt by something that happened online, you should believe them first before just dismissing what happened. Like, instead of saying you're overreacting, try saying, I can see why that bothered you. Want to talk it through? Like, give them the opportunity to talk about what happened. That way you're acknowledging what they went through, and you're giving them an opportunity to really reflect and talk about it, instead of just like brushing it aside or brushing it under the table. I definitely think trauma dumping without consent is something you should try to avoid, because emotional capacity matters, right? So if you do want to do some type of check-in, to talk about whatever you're going through, and it might be emotionally heavy, ask your partner if it's okay. You can ask, like, by saying, do you have the space for something heavy right now? And then they can either confirm it for you and say, yeah, I'm able to have a heavy conversation, or they'll say no, and you have to respect that if they say no. You may have to go talk to someone else. And then I would also keep all vulnerabilities off social media. Especially like private arguments, posting anything about your arguments online, like even like subtle messages, like quotes saying like, oh, well, your partner makes you angry, like, you know, like little like hints at the fact that there's something going on, that like don't post stuff like that. And then screenshots of your conversations without consent, don't do that either. That's not respectful, so I would definitely say don't do that either.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Social media break. Okay. When is a social media break healthy? Brody, go ahead and go. Go, 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 go. Go upstairs. He's coming. Okay, hold on. Okay, let's look at the live and see what other people have said real quick before we finish up. Oh, someone said weakness would be if you're hanging out and you're both on social media. Yeah, that's a good one. So just like being on your phone, but you're literally in each other's space in person. Like you're not giving that person attention at all. You're just on your phone. And we all tend to do that a lot, especially in this generation where our heads are just in our phones. We don't engage with what's going on in real life. So sometimes you just gotta put your phone down and just be in the moment. So do take some time to really just put your phone down and be around the person without being on your phone. I've gotten a little better at that, honestly, but sometimes I be on my phone. So sometimes I need to like pick and choose what like times I don't want to be on my phone and times where I do. The times I choose where I don't go on my phone a lot, it's like when we go eat out, like in restaurants and stuff. I usually put my phone down and we talk or something like that. So that's how I manage that. What would you say to that, Caleb?
I agree with you on that. People do have tendencies of being on their device a lot when they're out. I mean, I'm guilty of it as well. You know, we all have had times when we are on our phone for long periods of time when we're out, but especially like what you said about dinner, definitely dinner. That's a good time for you to just, get off your phone and just talk to your partner. I mean, sometimes I've been out at restaurants, I'll see people out with each other. They're sitting on their phone. Me personally, I'm like, you go out to dinner just to be on your phone. We could just stayed at home for all of that, to be honest. But I definitely agree with you on that. You just need to know when it's time to put that phone down, which is why I said what we was talking about earlier, just creating that boundary between you and your partner, just letting it be known up front, if we're going out certain places, just put the phone down, even if you need to turn the device off so it won't, create no distractions while you're out with, your partner. You may have to just, turn the phone off to, like I said, prevent that person from, getting distracted.
I definitely agree. I also find it to be a pet peeve when I'm trying to talk to somebody and they're literally like on their phone. And I'm just like, and like them being on their phone has nothing to do with the conversation. Like if I accidentally look up something, but I'm just like, I'm talking to you and you're literally like watching a video on your phone or you're doing something on your phone. That irritates me so much because it's like obviously you're not engaged in the conversation at all, and that makes me feel like what I'm saying is not important.
Right, because you gotta think about people say, a person, and you can communicate to your partner, okay, I feel like you're not paying me any attention because, like you just said, I could be engaging in the conversation with you. And I clearly see you sitting here, like you said, let's say you're on Instagram watching a video. You can tell me that you're engaged in the conversation, but your action is showing me that you're not. This is why I always say that I don't care about your words. I care about your action. If your action if your actions not aligning with what you said, you tell me you're paying attention, but your action is showing me, okay, she's on her phone. This goes for anybody, vice versa, male or female. You can't tell me you're paying attention to what I'm saying, but you're on your device. I'm the type of person I like eye contact. But if I'm conversating with you and, I'm letting it be known that, okay, you're on your device. I mean, shouldn't you think that will cause your partner to shut down as well? Because you clearly show me that you're not paying attention. I don't like that either. Like, if you just on your phone the whole time I'm talking to you, don't be honest. And if I'm communicating to you, okay, I have an issue with this, and you still continue to do it, I hate to say it's just well, for me at least, it will cause me to step back and not want to talk to that person, to be honest. Yeah, but I definitely don't like that. I definitely do not.
Yeah, that's one that I'm just like, no, don't do that. Yeah. Don't do that.
Eye contact and attention is everything. And don't get me wrong, we do have, it's times when you can get distracted, but if it becomes a cycle with the same behavior, that's when it becomes an issue. If it's a one-time thing, okay, cool, but if it continues to happen over long periods of time, then yes, we would have to have a different conversation at that point.
All right. Well, you guys, today we explored how social media affects mental health and relationships. From comparison and insecurity to trust and digital boundaries. We learned that social media itself isn't the enemy, but unexamined habits can quietly weaken connection. Remember, your relationship doesn't need to look good online to be healthy offline. Likes don't equal love. And privacy doesn't mean secrecy. It means respect. Now, as we close out this season, I want to pause and really reflect. Because Love Unfiltered has grown so much. This year marked the 1-year anniversary of this podcast. And looking back, I am honestly overwhelmed with gratitude. Season 1 was about laying the foundation. Healthy communication. Healthy connections versus toxic cycles. Money talks and building financial trust. And the art of apologizing. Those conversations taught us how to show up better, how to listen, repair, and grow together. In season 2, man, it just went deeper. We talked about mental health, the quiet struggles, the emotional labor, the burnout, the boundaries, the anxiety, and the ways our internal worlds shape our relationships. We reminded ourselves that love isn't just about romance. It's about care, awareness, and compassion, especially when things aren't perfect. What this season showed me is that vulnerability builds community. Every message, every story shared, every listener who felt seen. That's what made this season powerful. And as we step into the next chapter of Love Unfiltered, we are expanding the conversation even more. Guys, this was the most awaited season. I've been waiting for an entire year since I started planning for this podcast. But the upcoming season, well, we are moving into Sex in the City. A season focused on sexual health, intimacy, empowerment, and honest conversations about desire, connection, sexuality, and choice. This next season is about freedom, confidence, and understanding ourselves more fully, mentally, emotionally, and sexually. I want all of you, all of my listeners on the live, and my wonderful guest speaker, Caleb, to be part of this next chapter. Send in your questions, stories, and experiences about sex, intimacy, dating, and empowerment. This entire space exists because of you. If this season resonated with you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs these conversations. You can also follow my Instagram at loveunfiltered.podcast, where you can find all the posts of all the episodes that I have ever posted online. And you can find links in my bio that will lead you to a website, a personal website of mine, that has all of the links to all of the listening platforms where you can listen to this podcast, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I believe we're on Pandora, XM, and YouTube. There are other options, but those are the many of the few that you can choose from. Let us celebrate how far we've come together. Thank you for trusting Love Unfiltered with your stories, your healing, and your growth. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for showing up honestly and courageously. Here's to growth, softness, boundaries, and deeper connection. Honor your journey, protect your peace, and of course, get ready because the next season is going to be bold. I'll see you all in Sex in the City. Bye.